So after Street Songs, we had Throwing Down, which almost replicated the success of Street Songs. It was a strong record too, and it had Dance With Me and Hard to Get. And I really liked the Temptations track, Standing on the Top.
Yes.
Yeah.
What do you remember about recording that one, and what did you like about it? Was there anything that you weren't crazy about?
Well, the rhythm section, we went in the studio all at once, and we recorded the rhythm section of the song. It was the bongos, guitar, bass, drums, keyboards, you know, and it really surprised me because they had the bongos so loud, and that was actually a cadet riff that I used to do in the cadets, the drum and bugle corps back in the day. You know, that's where I got that idea from. It was that rhythm of a rudiment, you know, and that was the bongo part. And it surprised me that Tom Fly turned the bongos up that loud, but he said that it would carry the song, the groove of the song, and they actually wrote the horn parts to the rhythm of the bongos. And you know that was great to really hear me playing that loud. It shocked me, you know, because I didn't think it would be that loud.
And you're talking about Standing on the Top, right?
Yeah,
Yes.
it's the bongo part. Yeah.
Uh-huh. Now that one too had a great long version that went only on the Temptations album. Was that actually more spliced together, or was that a real long track?
That was a long track.
Yeah.
That was a long track. Yeah.
Yeah, the long version is smoking. I mean,
Yes. It was originally for them, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
did you guys get to meet them?
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. We were label mates.
Yeah.
So being at Motown, what was it like getting to meet some of those legends, like, you know, the Temps? And I don't know if you met Smokey or not when you did that duet with Rick, but I mean, those guys, they're the legends, you know. So I mean, it must have been a thrill to meet some of those guys.
Jaw dropping.
Yeah.
You know, just to see that, because growing up, all we did was hear them on the radio or see them on TV or SLF or something.
Yeah, it was an honor to meet him.
Yes, to see them in person, you know, that was jaw dropping. And they loved us.
Yeah.
You know, they knew about us before we even got to town. That was a shocker. Mm-hmm. Got to meet everybody, all the Motown artists, Stevie Wonder, Lionel Richie, everybody. You know, it was great. You know, I loved it. I had a great time being on that label, meeting Barry Gordy. We got to go to his house. We went to his brother's house.
Yeah, full of Gordy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, it was a family affair, definitely.
Yeah.
Did Barry or anyone else, the other executives there, try to steer Rick much, or did they pretty much just let him do his thing?
Let him do his thing.
Yeah.
You know, because you know he was headstrong. You know, it had to be his way. You know, he didn't like people telling him what to do. That was the wrong thing. Tell him he can't do something. He would do the opposite.
They gave him the freedom.
Oh yeah. Never say can't.
All right, so we're in the area where Cold Blooded came out, which you mentioned before, as part of the Mary Jane Girls Tour, around '83, and that had the Smokey track on it that we just mentioned, Ebony Eyes. Also had You Bring the Freak Out. And it was also the year that Meet the Stone City Band, Out from the Shadows. So what do you remember about that period? And the record cover, especially for you guys, was fun. So what was going on around that time?
It was kind of a transition. We were trying to do some new exciting things. it was a great idea to do the Beatles old cover. I mean, you know, Meet the Stone City Band. I mean, you know, he wanted to present the band as, you know, as an icon, kind of. But we had fun doing that album. There was a few things that I think it was like three songs. I think me and Danny did on that album. I didn't really think that I finished the song, but it was put out anyway. But I mean, who am I to judge? At that time, you know, the money man is the judge.
That one track on their Lady's Choice to me seemed like almost like a sister song or something to Standing on the Top. It kind of had a similar vibe.
Yeah, it was a great track. I mean, you know, he wanted to present the band members as a band type song, you know, a group song. And it was a great idea, you know. That was going in a different direction for the band. It was a nice transition.
It's funny because, Lanise, you mentioned like feeling like the Beatles at that record store, and you guys had a Beatles cover.
That's true.
And I was a Beatles fan. Hey.
Yes. Mm-hmm. They were inspirational for me playing trap drums, looking at Ringo Starr. And at my time, I was Rick's Ringo Starr. Mm-hmm.
So,
and Jane.
Moving into the mid '80s period, Party All the Time came out. Eddie Murphy. Did you guys have any involvement in that?
Yeah, actually, in the video, that's me on the electronic drums. We did it at Electric Ladyland Studios in New York, and it was a fun time, a lot of energy. It was great. I mean, you know, Eddie's is a character, I tell you. I mean, you know, that boy is funny all day, every day. He'll have you laughing, you know, till you choke. But it was a great time, you know. I think the Cars did their video right after we left. They did their video in there.
Were you surprised that it was as big of a crossover hit as it turned out to be?
Yeah, it was yes, it was a surprise. I mean, you know, because, you know, that came about when Eddie used to imitate Rick all the time. And he was singing that song in the studio trying to imitate Rick. And Rick said, just sing the song, just sing the song. And that's how it came about. He just put Eddie on the song.
And boom, it's a pop smash. And also the video got so much play on MTV too.
Yes.
Yeah.
So could feel that, you know, even from the outside looking in, could feel that there was sort of a transition going on, as you mentioned, Nate, with, you know, the Rick James thing, you know, at that time in the mid 80s. And Reflections came out, which was a compilation album, but it did have one killer track in 17. That was a really good funk track on that. But it seemed like, you know, the star was fading. Things were starting to, you know, come apart a little bit. What can you tell me about that period? About, you know, what did it feel like to see it sort of starting to dissipate? And, you know, how close were you to Rick during that time? And was it just all, you know, substance related, or were there other things going on with like politics in the record company, or what was happening?
It was politics with the record company.
Yeah.
Basically.
Yeah. it was really getting to Rick, and and then Rick's demons had a part of it, and it just got worse. He got more isolated from the band. He wouldn't be around the band as much. We would be in the studio without Rick, and he wouldn't come in the studio until we were gone. It was real strange at that time.
Do you think part of it was just a reaction to getting that level of fame, that it's just kind of hard to deal with that sometimes?
No, I think it was other things.
Yeah.
That made it. Wasn't the fame. He could handle that. He was pretty much, around friends.
Yeah.
All that, being up top like that, the level where he was at. He was among his friends that he, grew up with and had, a relationship, a working relationship with all the stars at that level at that time. I think it was other things besides, what he was going through.
Yeah, I just think he was going through a lot of personal things. He was pressured to do certain things, and he wasn't used to being pressured. He just dealt with it his own way. He kept everything from us.
Do you think he also maybe spread himself out a little too thinly with so many protege acts and doing maybe too much?
Oh no.
Oh no.
No, that had nothing to do with it. No. Nothing at all.
Well, as a music fan, it was a shame for sure. Just when Glow and Wonderful came out, they just didn't have the same level of consistency. They didn't hit as hard on the funk tracks. Lucy's Rap was like one exception that still, was pretty funky and had the rap incorporated. And then there was an album in the late 80s that I didn't even know until fairly recently was shelved, I guess, called Kickin'. Were you guys still involved then, or when did you kind of go your separate ways?
We left Rick around 85. He was going through his thing with Motown, and they froze all the money, so he couldn't pay the band. So the guys had to survive, and they eventually just split, going different ways. We eventually ended up doing New Edition's Heartbreak Tour with Stone City Band's rhythm section. The man called Lanny, Michael Bivens. He called Lanny, and asked if we would audition, because they used to open up for Rick when they were like 10 years old. They were like just a young guys doing a dancer group. They were a dance group. So that connection happened right there. We auditioned for them. We ended up doing a Heartbreak Tour, and then some of us ended up breaking off, and that was 88. 89, we hooked up with Bobby Brown when he went solo, and we did Bobby Brown's biggest tours, which was, 89 to 95. We went around the world twice.
So you guys were playing My Prerogative?
No, we played that on tour. We didn't play on the album. I played on the Humping Around album.
I bet you guys were hitting it on My Prerogative. I can imagine you guys must
yes, a lot of clips on YouTube.
So when you were off doing your own thing, how much were you sort of keeping tabs on what was going on with Rick and that whole situation?
Well, I used to call some of the guys, security and whatnot, because Rick, he wouldn't answer no calls. So, I would just connect with security or, talk to his brother, Roy, ask how he was doing or whatever, And they would let me know if they saw him or if he was in town or whatever. You know, I just kept tabs on him that way. He actually blamed New Edition. You know, they stole his band. New Edition is still the band. It's just the band, you know.
I didn't know those young guys were so diabolical. They seem like clean nosed kids. I didn't know. So, you know, I mean, a lot of things were changing at the turn of the 80s into the 90s in terms of the music business and the sounds and all that. So, you know, what was your guys' mindset as that was happening in terms of your careers as musicians? And what were you looking to do, and what were you doing, you know, going into the 90s?
Keeping the band together.
Yeah, you know, I mean, we went through a lot of transitions with musicians. We tried to get most of the originals together, but you know, some of them had, you know, their own issues. Some of them physically couldn't do it no more. So we had to find guys that was true to the legacy as far as our format, you know. It was the kind of format that we were used to as far as going in the studio, learning, you know, a track and having that space where you fit in, you know. It's not all about chops and whatnot. It's how you fit into the groove, you know. And when we found the right genre of musicians, you know, that we have now, you know, I'm happy. I mean, you know, it makes me feel like I'm back in the day right now.
And when did that happen? Because I'm just trying to get my mind around the time frame. You know, what really transpired from the 90s musically to where we are now with the Stone City Band?
Well, musically, I mean, you know, nothing has changed with Stone City Band. I mean, we're still a funk band, the same format. We just use updated sounds, you know, basically it. I mean, you know, we don't sequence. We actually use electronic pads and play the electronic sounds that you hear. They're actually played by the musicians, you know. No sequencing is allowed.
Strict policy.
Yeah.
Yes.
We're real.
So
we're players.
We're old school.
Players.
Amen. So in the 90s, back when Rick ended up getting incarcerated and that whole thing went on, and then he got out, were you guys in communication at all, or keeping tabs on that? Were you surprised by what happened? Were you heartbroken by what happened?
Surprised and heartbroken.
Yeah.
You know, because you know what happened. You know, we weren't, you know, surrounded by him anymore. At that time, it was a whole different crew of people.
Yeah. I mean, we kept a lot of the riffraff away from people when we were all together. And he had a whole new crew, and, you know, there was just too much going on, you know, in his camp. I had a chance to, when he got out, I had a chance to go to LA and go in the studio and do some creating with his new material, which it never came out. It's probably still available to come out, but I haven't heard anything about it. I mean, you know, I was there with Danny and Alan McGreer and some more guys. But he, you know, I can tell he was just a little different. You know, he wasn't the same.
When he got out, Urban Rhapsody came out, and I thought it was a pretty solid record. To me, I thought it was his best record since, you know, you all were playing with him back in the mid 80s. unfortunately, he didn't do a whole lot after that. When he passed on, you know, obviously it was a horrible thing, but I mean, what was that like for you personally? And what is it that you hope people really remember about Rick?
I mean, you know, he was definitely a genius. I remember, you know, I was teaching school at Waterfront in Buffalo, New York. I was an assistant, you know, teacher for like 10 years there. And that's when I got the word that he passed on. And Rick's brother had called us to be pallbearers at his funeral. You know, it was an honor because, you know, that's what we're trying to do is continue that legacy because he was such a genius and we learned so much from him. Even though he was a crazy guy, he was just, you know, extraordinary in the studio. I mean, you know, I learned things that, you know, I never could have done anywhere else.
So I like to ask a question, being the name of the show is Truth and Rhythm, to my guests, and that is, you know, when you're playing, when you're involved in the music that you do, how do you know that you're being truthful to the music? I mean, how do you find truth in what you do musically?
Actually physically performing the tune. And we do it from exactly the way we did it with Rick back in the day. We'll lay down the basic rhythm, you know, and we add from there. You know, we follow, he had a certain formula. We still know that formula, you know, and we do everything today exactly the way it was done in the 80s. You know, when we was performing with Rick. We were in the studio long enough to pick up certain things, you know, and we don't let a machine play what we can play physically. You know, we don't use computers to enhance anything. You know, we use today's sounds, you know, but we physically play those sounds. You know, like I would take the sound, electronic sounds, and I would trigger them off of my acoustic drum set, and I would actually play it. I won't hit any pads to play a song. I would actually play it myself.
Yeah,
What about,
when we got with
go ahead, Nate.
when we got with New Edition and Bobby, he introduced us to sounds, you know, because you know that hip hop and New Jack Swing, you know, that it's a lot of sounds happening in there, you know, and he actually introduced us to a whole new crowd too. It was a younger crowd, and it expanded our ideas. You know, I commend New Edition and Bobby for doing that for us. We're in the studio now doing new material, and I hope you'll like it when it comes out.
Well, that's great to hear. I was going to ask you about that if you were thinking about or were recording anything in the studio. That would be awesome to hear something new. So is that something that you think could happen this year or next year?
Well, you should hear a single within a couple of months.
You just improved my summer.
And now, and, you know, the album may be out, you know, not too long after that. I mean, you know, we want to get the single out first. We just got to do a little bit of tweaking.
I wanted to ask you about funk in general. You know, somebody asks you, what is funk music? How do you define it? What do you answer them? And why do you think it is that funk has sort of been on a back burner, for the most part of the music industry? It's not really gotten its proper due as being a unique genre like jazz, say, or country or whatever. So how do you define funk? What does it mean to you? And why do you think it's sort of hush hush a little bit?
Funk to me is playing from the heart, how you feel, that it's that deep, and when you can make people move, that's a blessing to me, and to be able to make a song up, you have to really feel it and believe in it, not just hear something and just go at it, and that's that. You have to actually believe, attitude, everything. It has to be straight from the heart. And
yeah, I mean, for an example, I mean, if you had a bad day or you got in a fight with somebody or whatever, got in an argument, you go to the studio, you just tell that story, and you use all that energy and the attitude, and you bring it across in music. And that's why people can grab on to it so fast, because it's real, I just think, funk is a personality in itself. It's a storytelling. That's basically it, with an attitude. And you can tell the attitude from the music.
So what do you got? We kind of touched on it a little bit with the computers and not having an identifiable unique sound among the different acts of today. But overall, what do you think of today's modern contemporary music scene? And if you had a nephew or something, or a young person came up to you and asked you for advice to get into music today, what would you tell them?
To be true to yourself, play the instrument, learn the instrument. And what I would tell a young person today is learn the business side of the music first. Learn all you can about the business, because anybody could just play an instrument. But to take it that much further, you have to know the business side of what you're getting involved in, because it's a lot of ups and downs. And if you don't have the heart for it, you won't last. It'll take you right out the picture. So if you really, truly want to play, be true to yourself, be true to your heart, and believe in what you do, and read all you can about the music industry. Because today, the music is run by corporations. The corporation will mass produce a particular record or a particular artist, and they will push it on you. They will play it so much where you will have to grow to like it. You don't get to choose who it is anymore. It's being pushed on you.
And everybody sounds alike.
Yeah. I mean, it's like a assembly line, a new thing every year. Back when we were recording, everybody had their own sound.
Yeah.
So when you heard it on the radio, you could tell that's so-and-so, that's so-and-so, on and on. But today, you don't know who you're listening to, because everybody sounds the same. And it's corporate ran. We didn't have that kind of backing back then. The audience chose, what they liked and what they would hear. And the radio DJs would listen to the audience, and then they would put it on heavy rotation, and you would hear from there. Today, it's pushed on you. Okay, I'm putting this out, and this is all you're gonna hear for the next 5 or 6 months. is this particular artist, and everybody, if that's all you hear, that's all you're gonna like. You know, it's completely different, but you know, and learning the business, it's two-sided. You know, words have different meanings today. You know, it's not cut dry anymore. You know, they can say something and you could be signing your whole life away. You know, so that's why I would tell today's, you know, up and coming musician, learn all you can about the music industry, the business side of it. You know, because all the glamour, all the women and everything, that's, you know, a little plus, you know, because that could get crazy also, you know, being with the wrong one. But learn the business side. That's what I stress to every young musician that I run across today.
Yeah, if you have morals, keep them.
Yes, because that's what saved us, you know, from all the craziness. We ran into everything on the road, and that's what saved us, our upbringing. You know, because we were always having it back in our mind, what would our mom and dad think?
Mm-hmm. That is some great wisdom from some of the originators, the Hughes brothers of the Stone City Band, the original Rick James Stone City Band. So glad to have you guys. You know, we had a little issue here or there, but we got it done. I want to ask you before I wrap it up here, you know, how can people catch your act? What do you have, you know, in the immediate future, and how can they keep up with you?
Go to stonecityband.net. That is our website. You can see everything. You can get all the updates. You can find out when we're performing, you know, what days, you know, at any time throughout the year. You can stay in touch with us on Facebook.
Yeah, well, Bad Boys of Funk on Facebook and Bad Boys of Funk on Instagram. And Pro Image, we do t-shirts too.
Got it covered. Excellent. All right. Well, so with that, it's time to wrap up another edition of Truth and Rhythm. Again, a huge thanks to my guests, Lanise and Nate. Thank you so much, guys. Really appreciate it.
Can we give a shout out to our management?
Of course.
Kim Stairs, and to the rest of the bandmates. You know, we love you.
Yes.
And hey, more power to the Funk Fest coming up.
Yeah, actually, I'd like to thank Kim too, because she helped me line you guys up. So thanks, Kim.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And I also want to thank all the viewers for sharing their time and tuning in. Want to say be sure to look out for upcoming episodes of Truth and Rhythm. Catch up with previous installments at funkandstuff.net and on YouTube, iTunes, and other leading podcast providers. If you're an artist or a music industry figure interested in being a guest on this program, or a fan wanting to see a particular band or act, send me an email and we'll see if we can get it done. So on behalf of Lanise and Nate, this is Scott Goldfine saying, as always, make sure to keep vibing on the rhythm of the one.
Can I add one thing?
Go for it.
Okay, I would like to personally say there is only one Stone City Band. One, not 5 or 6. There's only one Stone City Band. And if you go to stonecityband.net, you will see the band.
All right, accept no substitutes. Thank you, guys.
Funk and roll.
Funk and roll. Thank you, Scott.
Thank you, Scott.